Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Beyond Day One. I'm David, and I'm so glad that you've joined us today. We're continuing our conversation, but we're wrapping it up around the issue of stamina and being burned out. Gen Z and young professionals are struggling with stamina at work. Now, we've been talking about it from a perspective of what can you do to practically build stamina emotionally, mentally, and physically so that you can make it through your week without kind of crashing out. Now, we know there's a whole nother level of crashing out that has nothing to do with your ability to get the work done, but it has everything to do with how you feel about the work. And I gotta tell you, I'm not gonna tell you that how you feel is wrong because it's not wrong. And you're in a world where unfortunately so many of us have been. Some people would say it's a Gen Z issue, but if you'd look back over it and look back over the years, we all were there. And it was because we were making a transition from school and other environments into a workplace that was demanding something different of us and we had to adapt and adjust to it. And so, in adapting and adjusting to it, we begin to learn and teach ourselves tactics and see a better way to approach things. So, today, as we talk about being physically ready, I want to start off by sharing a little statistic with you from the CDC. It says 1 in 3 American adults do not get enough sleep, defined as less than 7 hours per night. You guys, that's a big deal because some of the reason that you just don't feel ready in the morning is because you're not sleeping enough. And this has got to be probably the most practical advice that we could be sharing with you today is once again, some of you just need to take a nap. Some of you just need to get somewhere, sit down, go to sleep, get your proper hours of rest. And then when you wake up, you probably find that you're in a better emotional state and a better mental state. So not only can you make it, but you can accomplish the task that you have to deal with at work. When you feel the energy to go to work and have what you need, and then while you're there, you're actually making progress and maybe even surprising yourself with what you can get done. It's amazing how much differently you can begin to see the world and see your place in the organization. So, um, I want to talk a little bit about sleep deprivation and how sleep deprivation can sometimes look like low motivation. It can look like poor focus. It can look like emotional reactivity. And it can look like low energy. And people don't necessarily look at you, at least people at work, and say, okay, Jimmy, John, Susan, Rachel needs a nap. They just look at it and say, you're not giving enough. They don't feel like they're getting from you what they want. And so they look at it, especially with Gen Z, they look at it as more low motivation than anything. And all these things that we've been talking about in this series, kind of bring us to the place that if we deal with one, we kind of start dealing with the others. Philip, what's your thought?
Just right off the bat, I'll say a tired mind is a dull mind, and it's hard to make good decisions. It's hard to stay motivated. It's hard to even kind of work out uh, basic, priorities and logic and things like that when you're extremely
Mhm.
sleep deprived. I can definitely speak from experience with this. I know we were talking a little bit earlier before the show, but um, I spent most of my early 20s all the way to my late 30s living in sleep deprivation. Like I was working a full-time job. I had part-time a business on the side that I was building websites and doing stuff, and I was going to school basically as a full-time student as well. In the last part of the night, that's what I would do. I'd be on online taking my classes there. So I averaged probably 5 nights, 5 hours of sleep per night, and I did that for over a decade. And I can tell you from experience, it does not bode well for your physical well-being. you definitely suffer in a lot of different ways because sleep deprivation shows up in a lot of different kind of manifestations. It can be even down to lack of physical coordination. There's some
Mm,
studies that talk about how if you are living in extreme sleep deprivation, it's no different than like drunk driving. Like you
Yeah,
you you lose a lot of that sharpness of faculties when you're in that mode of just being like a zombie walking around. So
yeah,
it's amazing to me, and I'll say this is the last thing I'll say, but it's amazing to me. We sometimes we give more attention to making sure that our phone battery is charged versus our own bodies being charged up.
oh,
Like
that's
right.
good.
we'll never miss an opportunity to charge our phone battery, but man, we'll miss out on sleep and think it's no big deal. But your body needs that recharge as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is I'll catch up on the weekend.
Oh my
Yep,
gosh.
yep.
There are some studies that say you actually can catch up on your sleep, but you have to again ask yourself at what cost?
Mhm.
Because if you catch up on it on the weekend, that means you were deprived of it during the week, and if you're deprived of your sleep, you're deprived of some of your brain function.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
could you have used that during the week to make better decisions, get things done quicker, so forth? So you have to really calculate things out because the other big thing here is energy management. And
Mhm.
so there's kind of one big I don't want to call it takeaway, but one big challenge I want to give you from the University of Georgia. Look at this. There's a 65% reduction in fatigue reported by people who added regular low intensity exercise to their routine, alongside a 20% increase in energy levels. So, in other words, by including some movement and activity in your day, it actually reduced some of the impact and effects of fatigue. And why is that important? Well, some of us, and so many of us, when you know, well, I don't want to say that, but the reality is working in an office um, is a sedentary job, and there's some people who would tell you that, you're working, your desk, you're sitting, is the new smoking.
mhm.
I don't know if I'll take it that far, but I get what they're saying, and that is by remaining sedentary all day and staying locked in and sitting at your desk and not having any movement, anything to kind of wake the body up and exert energy and use this body for what it was created to do, produces negative results in your life. John, what do you have to say about that?
Man, that is so true. There's something about your body's your blood flowing, you're getting oxygen to your brain and other parts of your body. Um, it's almost like a shock to the system every single day. And I'll even go in a further, grander scope. It's the consistency with the physical activity and the consistency with sleeping that keeps your body sharp and your mind sharp. Um, you're talking about catching up on sleep. I I don't think I personally don't think there's such a thing as catching up on sleep. Same way you miss a workout, next thing you know, your body has to work twice as hard. Oh, sorry. Um, it's a matter of getting a consistent 7 hours of sleep. Your body will appreciate that later on. It's getting a consistent 20 minutes in your day to do physical activity. It keeps everything circulated and it keeps your mind sharp and it puts you in a place where you're prepared for everything at work. You think a little bit clearer, like all that fog just lifts off your mind. So I have learned that regarding physical activity and sleep, consistency is what gets you in that golden space of being active and working.
That's good, John.
That Yeah, that's really good. You know, one of the things that I want to challenge you with is I want you to ask yourself three questions. Number one, how many hours of sleep are you actually getting? Now, look, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about laying in the bed for 2 hours scrolling social media. That's not sleep. We could talk about blue light later on and some of the other potentially ill effects of doing that, but I'm talking about actually in the bed, asleep, getting your body what you need. Because, another way to say it, and Philip kind of started heading us that way, sleep isn't rest, it's recovery.
Yeah.
Sleep isn't rest, it's recovery. Now, you might feel rested during that time, but just like your phone, you're recharging your own battery for the next day and for the tasks that are set in front of you. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, how much are you moving during the day? And the third question is, what are you putting in your body before and during work? No, we're not trying to judge you. We just want you to take an honest inventory, and you don't have to tell us what it is, but be honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with you, then there's no progress that you can make until you get honest with yourself. The young lady in the video was kind of, on the verge of tears talking about who goes to bed before 8 o'clock. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm the age that I am now, and I remember all of the years that I could stay up until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and turn around and jump back up at 6 o'clock and
Hmm.
be full of life and energy. Let me tell you, it doesn't stay that way.
No, it does not.
And not only
It
does
does
it not
not.
stay that way, but wisdom says that we shouldn't even try to exist that way.
That's
Right.
right.
That if we have to, we can, but we shouldn't always be pushing that to the limits because we need to be on top of things so much in our everyday lives.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
here's three physical takeaways that I'll give you. Number one, pick a consistent wake up time and protect it just for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, pick a specific wake up time and wake up at that time every day for 2 weeks. Number two, add one 10-minute walk to your workday. Whether you do it before or during or after work, just give yourself 10 minutes, a 10-minute walk. And I think you'll find that beneficial. And then finally, cut the late night screen time by 30 minutes and replace it with something offline. If you're going to hop in the bed instead of doom scrolling, grab a book,
Yeah.
do a crossword puzzle, do
Yeah.
something that's not on your phone. Um, and maybe that's something, guys, that we need to talk about in a whole other episode, and
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
is the desperate need for us to disconnect from these phones that are growing attached to our hands. But
Hmm.
disconnect from that phone and put a book or something in your hands that will help you. Those are the three things. Once again, pick a consistent wake time and protect it for 2 weeks. Add one 10-minute walk to your workday, and then cut the late night screen time by 30 minutes and replace it with anything that is offline. Philip or John, any final thoughts before we wrap this episode and this little series up?
I could say just really quickly, nutrition in the morning time is very important, like what you choose, because you can get into a kind of a negative feedback loop with if you're tired in the morning and you're looking for that quick burst of energy, you might go for like a high carb food, like a cinnamon bun or something like that, and it might give you a little boost for the moment. But then there's always that inevitable crash, like however many minutes later. And so when the crash happens, you're looking for another high carb thing to kind of boost you up again. So it becomes like a loop that's happening. But to me, if you find something high protein for breakfast, that's very, very, very helpful. Like eating some eggs or some cottage cheese or something like that. That's can sit on your stomach in a different way and give
Yeah.
you a little bit more of a clear head as well. So just a little tip that it's worked for me. So
Yeah, they,
Yeah.
they call that brain food, and they
there you
Right.
go.
call it that for a reason. So we're wrapping up this series, and so we've been talking about mental, emotional, and physical stamina. Now, I want you to connect that to what we've been talking about the couple of weeks before that around motivation. You might think it's all different things, but it's actually all the same circle of life. There's some physical and natural actions that you can take that change the appearance of things where some think you're low in motivation where you're not. But when you look back at some of the things we ask you to do with motivation, you'll see that there's an opportunity there by having more energy, by being more engaged in the job. You have what it takes to be able to do that extra that now puts you on the map in your workplace and gives you a growing, better positioning that helps you to become what you want to be at the job that you're at. We're so glad that you guys have joined us this time. We hope this is helpful to you. If it is, drop us a note in the comments and let us know. And hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be glad to have you. Until next time, I'm David, that's John, and that's Philip, and we're out.